Good evening, everybody. We are coming at you live from the Liminal Pines. My name is Alan, and this is my stream. Hello. It's been a while. I've had a fairly stressful past month. Um, but do you want to know how I've managed to get through it? But part of the way I've managed is through my artwork, because there's nothing more cathartic than the act of creation. So let's do a little bit of drawing today. I have my sketchbook right here. I'll let you all have a little peek of the things that I have been drawing in here. We're probably about. It's looking like we're about a third of the way. It's a little bit blurry. We're probably about a third of the way through the sketchbook, and that's been nearly like 50 full pages. So I have drawn quite a bit in the sketchbook. This is a very hefty sketchbook. It's an Ohuhu marker sketchbook. So I've been drawing quite a lot, and it's crazy too because I haven't only been drawing in this sketchbook. I have been drawing like other pieces of artwork, like like I don't know if you've seen the short. I don't know if anyone here has seen the shorts on my channel, but I do have shorts on my channel, believe it or not. Uh, but like did that. I have a few other ones over here, and those have just been like relatively smaller, more singular pages, but I've been planning out other other pieces of artwork as well. So like I've really been up to a lot, and I've been doing a lot of like thinking about like my comic, of course, because that's what this current sketchbook is about. And I'm feeling very confident in my ability to sort of like get this thing whipped up and into production. I'm considering, so one thing I have been considering with the comic is, so this is just going to be the way that I'm thinking about it. The story is set up in a three-act structure. So I'm thinking for each act of this, I want to have that as a volume. So it's going to be one overarching narrative, and it's not going to be very long. It's effectively a one shot, but it's a one shot that I think I want to release in three volumes. So that way I can work on it in chunks, but I can also get it to all of you guys quicker. I feel like that would be beneficial. So what I'm thinking of is working on the there's my cat back there. What I'm thinking of is working on the first volume in its entirety and just releasing that. And then I'm thinking for every subsequent volume, I will release it in chapters. So think of it more like your weekly manga release schedule, although it's probably not going to be weekly because of course I do work a job outside of the YouTube channel, which is why my output has been very on the down low. And things are always just going to be a little crazy and hectic in life, but hey, that's all right. But just know that that's kind of like where my headspace is at right now with like how I am going to disseminate this thing. But it's still not going to be for a while. I want to fill this sketchbook from beginning to end with conceptual stuff. I want to play around with character design. I want to play around with composition. I want to play around with like how do these characters act? What are these environments that they're inhabiting? How am I gonna draw them? Uh, how am I gonna draw them again and again and again? Because that's the one thing about doing a piece of storytelling like this. Excuse me. You have your characters, and you are only going to have those characters, right? And it's not like a piece of 3D animation where you have the character model and you just move it around. When you're dealing with comics or manga or whatever, you are drawing that same character again and again and again. So I'm trying to figure out ways I can keep that fresh for me and for readers. But before we begin, I have a few things that I want to show you. I have three things here on my desk that I want to show you. The first is a comic I have been reading. The second is this little sheet of paper for artistic human body proportions because that's something I struggle with. And I want to show you what's inside this little mystery bag. And if you can guess correctly what is in this bag, um, I will I will message you. I will message you congratulations. If you comment on this and you accurately predict what was in this bag, I will say good job. But there's one rule: you can't skip forward in the video, and you cannot see what is in the bag and then go backwards and say that you guessed it correctly, because I'll know. I will know. Let's get to it, shall we? I'm thinking, yeah, we'll take a peek at the comic first. There's a few things I want to talk about with this comic, and then we will talk about this little piece of paper I have with artistic anatomy, and then we'll talk about the mystery bag. So stay tuned. I'm going to flip my camera down. And bear with me for a moment, because this is always the most finicky part of doing this. I have to get it all lined up. So I'm gonna bring my little boom arm over here. We're gonna flip you down, and you can see my desk here. You can see how it's not cluttered right now, but there is stuff on it. I recently got, I'll show you it. I'll point my camera over here. I did recently get this very neat little desk. Like, you can see my OBS right here. I got this little desk shelf unit, so I don't have all my like crap just like right here while I'm trying to draw. It's all kind of tucked away. And it's also a neat little place to put my keyboard. Isn't that cute? Got the corkboard up there. I'm thinking about changing what I got on here and turning it into a plot board. So that way, when I'm sort of plotting out this story, I can have it physically, so I can move things around. So I think that's what I'm going to do with that. But I'm still not quite sure where I'm going to put it, because I don't want to keep it there. I plan on putting a poster behind my desk, so the wall isn't just blank. Also I got this cool, hard to see. I got this cool little desk lamp. So this is what has been illuminating my desk, because I was initially using a little O, like a circular light, and it got in the way and it was awful, and yeah. So this is a lot better, and it's dimmable, and I can plug a charger or two into it if I really want. Yeah. Let me know if you like the setup in the comments, or let me know if you don't. That's good enough? That's good enough. So what I have here is the Human Target Volume 1 by Tom King, written by Tom King, illustrated by Greg Smallwood. And I want you to just take a peek at how beautiful this art style is. It is So beautiful, so fantastic, so striking. And I think there's quite a few things that we can learn from it. And there's one main thing that I picked up on. I have a specific page I'm on. I'll flip to that here in a second. But I want to appreciate what Greg Smallwood is able to accomplish here. Namely, I love his naturalistic expressions and his naturalistic way of rendering people. I can tell that he is using a a pencil. There's really not a lot of ink work going on here, or if it's done digitally, it's a digital ink tool that is very soft, so it almost feels like a pencil or even a colored pencil. There's a lot of texture to it, and there's a lot of lightness, and I just love the way that he shades the face. And it's beautiful, and I love the colors. I love the styling, and I love the composition that he's able to pull off. I think it's so beautiful, and each page is such a delight, and I spend my time looking through it and just admiring all of it. It's got this really like retro vibe to it. It kind of feels like old. See, I don't know the best way to describe it. It feels like old cereal box commercials from like the 50s. It's so unique and striking because you have these heavily contrasting colors, but then you also have these like effects that'll occasionally, and it's not like that is very realistic, but it's very evocative of the tone. And the story itself is also very compelling. It's a sort of not incredibly gritty, but it's a detective noir about a man trying to solve his own murder. Essentially, he was poisoned, and he's trying to figure out who poisoned him. And so you have a lot of speech balloons from the characters talking, but he also has an internal monologue going a lot of time, and it's all very hard boiled and what you would expect from the genre. One thing I like most about this comic is you're able to see these superheroes that you're familiar with, like Guy Gardner, uh, and like Blue Beetle, and just like the Justice League. Essentially, you're able to sort of see these like wacky characters, and they are portrayed in a way that is, again, it's very naturalistic. It's you have this contrast of these larger than life characters who have powers that are amazing, and they saved the world a billion times, and uh, they've died, and they've loved, and they've lived, and they've done all these amazing things, and they are superheroes. But they in this story they're portrayed as these three-dimensional characters who they act like not like your typical comic book characters. They are people, and I love that. And they are kind of in these not mundane situations, but they're having these conversations, and it's just so compelling, and I love it. And it's a slow burn, which I love as well. So you have a lot of moments where these characters are able to breathe and interact with each other, and I love that. So, one thing that I want to display to you here is the paneling. Specifically, I love how this scene here is paneled because you have your more traditional 3x3 comic grid. This is something that comic readers are very familiar with. Like, this is very conventional, and it opens up the door for stagnation, right? So it's like, how do you make that compelling, and how do you make that interesting? And Greg Smallwood does this genius thing is he very very often will use this concept called a polyptych. A polyptych is when you have one frame of your comic, right? You have one panel, but you split it up with gutters, like he's doing here, using the 3x3, and it's one continuous piece of artwork across the panels. So you can see him use that, both of these right here on this page. You have one setting. Imagine these gutters aren't here. This is just one piece of artwork, but he places the gutters here and separates it out so it forces your eye to focus on each individual part at a time, even though it's part of a whole. And what that feels like is, it feels like a camera pan. It feels like if you were watching a movie, it feels like a very controlled camera pan. And I just love that. And it feels like, even though it's a static image, it feels like it has this momentum and it has this movement. I feel as if the characters are moving throughout the environment. I think that's amazing, and he does it here as well. It gives you a sense of time. Instead of all of these things being happening in quick succession, you have a character speaking here, you get a response and an addendum, and it forces the reader to consider each moment as it passes. But it's just one image. You can see the corner of his elbow right here poking through. It's just one image, but it gives you a sense of time and place. The same happens here. You have the character's dialogue, you have an internal monologue, and then you have the reaction right here. But it shows how it controls the pacing, and I love that. I think it's simply amazing, and he does it here as well. And I love this specific page right here because he has the two characters talking in each section, and imagine that pan, right? And he frames them so they each get their own panel. Even though it's one piece of artwork, he frames them so they each get their own singular panel. And then you have a cut to their hands. So you have the characters speaking to each other, and then you cut to their hands. So that breaks up that rhythm. Same thing here again. Two characters. And then cut to the hands. And I love that. I think that's amazing. You can see it happen here as well. He uses this all the time throughout this comic, and it's such a joy whenever he does this. And this isn't a new concept that's been developed, but I greatly admire it, and I can only hope to learn from this. I would love to use this in my comic. I think it's so cool. He does it here as well. Even though it's not a very interesting panel on its own, right? You imagine that right there. Feel that slow camera pan. You see him opening the door. You see him take a moment to pause. It's creating a sense of movement. Another thing he does, and you can see it in every scene, and I think it's interesting because it's a form of, it's diegetic light. What I mean is there is light in the scene, and there are casted lights in the scene, but Smallwood renders the light in a way that almost feels non-diegenic. It feels hyper-realistic. You'll see it happen on every single page. You can see it happen on every single page. Look here. He does this everywhere. He has the character in shadow here, and then he has this little square where the character is in light. We don't know what's casting the shadow. Is there an umbrella above her? Well, there's not. Is she in the car? Is it part of the car? We don't know, but it feels believable. And it frames her face. You can see it here as well, with Guy Gardner here. This is more makes sense. We can imagine these are for blinds, but you can see for all of these, he throws in these little squares. Right here as well. Just a little square. Most of her is in shadow, but it helps to break up the figure. I think that's the decision that Smallwood was coming across. It is visually compelling, but it also it helps feel as if the panel extends outside of the scene. Right here. You can see it right here. But it's like where are the cast, like what's casting these shadows? We don't know. He does it to create some visual intrigue, but he also does it to frame facial features. You'll see him frame the face a lot. It's never going to be just down here. He wants it to be where you are going to be focusing. And it feels so simple. It's such a simple idea, but it's just absolutely fantastic. He also throws in lens flare every now and again, which also helps it to feel very cinematic. But I just love this blocking of light. Most of the time, it is going to be this little square thing. Occasionally, he'll follow the contour of the body, but a lot of the times, it's just going to be this very simple. And it's not following the contours of his face. It's a graphic feature, right? If this were realistic, this light would be falling over her brow, into her eye socket, over her cheekbone, down into her cheeks and around her face. It's not happening here. And it doesn't need to. It serves its purpose and it looks amazing. And it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I respect that greatly. So that's enough of me gushing over the human target. Please, read this. It's so fun. It's such a fun little story. I hope you get as much enjoyment from it as I do. Here I have a printed copy of the Human Artistic Proportions card, courtesy of Stan Prokopenko over at Proko, the Proko YouTube channel, or Proko.com, wherever you consume that content from. And this is there. He has a video of this on his channel, but it's 3 different ways that you can break up the human figure. This is very small, so this is for quick reference. I printed out a larger one, not because it was absolutely necessary, but I just wanted to see how it would blow up on a huge sheet of paper. But the Riker, you have your average proportions are the units of head height. So from the top of the cranium to the bottom of the jaw, and he breaks apart the body's landmarks using that unit of measurement. This is just for eyeballing. You don't have to follow it exactly, but this just helps you to get into the ballpark, such as the hip joint existing about halfway down the body, so about 3.5 heads. The Hale scale is a more interesting one because if you see right here, it's not the height of the head, but rather the height and width of the cranium, meaning when you're drawing your Loomis head, just that little circle. The circle that you use to do the head. And this is more minute. So you're able to get a bit more exact. This is if you're really wanting to hone in on your realistic human proportions. You can see right here that there's even the measurement of hands. There's the measurement of your sternum and clavicles, your shoulder blades, your rib cage. It's roughly 4 cranium widths in a cube. So I do struggle a lot with remembering these proportions, especially when I'm doing anatomy studies. I can see what's in front of me, but that doesn't always necessarily translate to putting it down correctly on the page. So this is for quick reference, for if I need a little help. Thirdly, I know you've all been waiting for this. Thirdly, we have the mystery bag. My wife made me this bag because I bought a Kindle I bought a Kindle Paperwhite because I want to read more prose literature. It's just a piece of technology. It's a glorified tablet, really, but I do think it's so cool. But has a backlight, so if I want to read at night, I can use it. I can adjust the warmth, right? You change pages. Right now, I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo, so that is the book that you're seeing right here. You can pull up other parts of this. I can use the X-ray feature, popular highlights, vocabulary builder. It's fun, and what I really like about this is that you can, like any piece of technology, you can use the dictionary feature, but also I can Wikipedia it. So like maybe the dictionary definition isn't giving me too much insight, so I can use Wikipedia. I can also translate. So it's like these are things that a phone can do, but it's all kind of in this one device, and it's not a scrolling screen. The refresh rate is absolutely terrible, but it's meant to be like that. It's meant to mimic the actual page of a book because this is an e-ink display. But yeah, I'm trying to read a little bit more, and this is helping me to do that before bed when I have my morning coffee. It's a swell piece of technology. Here we have the main course, nearly 30 minutes into the stream, as is my track record. A little triangle here for measurement. It's just so I don't get ink on my hands. Let me show you, let me show you, let me show you what I've been up to. This was from a few streams ago, so I think, or this might have been the very last stream that I did actually. Because it really has been a minute. As I said, I've been busy and stressed. So this is from the last stream, which was it the beginning of last month? I don't remember. Here we have some character paneling stuff. They really kind of just started out as drawing the characters, but then I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and panel with it. So we have Harris right here, and I'm trying out different rendering styles. This isn't how the final thing is going to be rendered. It's just I'm messing around with it. What's fun to draw? What looks good to me? Ulysses does not look good here. He looks like an imposter. Really, he looks way older than he's supposed to, and he did not age well. But ignore that page. Get a little bit of paneling here. You can see I'm messing around. It's like, how do we do backgrounds? How do we incorporate that with the characters? Characters are the focus, obviously. I tried out the polyptych thing here. You can sort of see how I split up this piece of artwork. It's not amazing, but it was trying it out. We have this is more like kind of just like drawing like things that I found on Pinterest or photos. Like this was a photo I took from like an airport parking lot. It's a little phone thing. So I was like, okay, I'll draw that here, and then I framed it, and then I was like, okay, I'll draw another thing here. So it initially wasn't lit like this. It did have a lamp here, but I was like, let's go ahead and throw on a light there just to frame it a little bit better. Thinking about composition. This is just a page of drawing characters, and it's very half-assed. I won't lie, but sometimes the creativity doesn't strike. You really need to force yourself to be creative sometimes, and that's not a thing I was doing. Here I have just drawing like characters in different poses. Trying to figure out what the uniform looks like for these guys, sort of like how am I gonna ink them and render them? For the way that I inked this right here, and I feel like I like the way this is because their uniform is going to be all black, but it's like how do you show that in a black and white monochromatic format? Uh, so I'm thinking that we'll have obviously texture. We'll use the texture of a dry brush to break up the large black fills, but for highlights, we'll break it up with hatching. So I think I like the way that looks. It's very like texturally interesting. Here I was playing around with some alcohol markers, uh, just because I got a little bit bored working with the ink, so I was like, I need something in order to split this up. So I took a weekend to play around with some color. Here's the reason I don't use the alcohol markers in this sketchbook is because it takes up an entire page. Because it bleeds through. It doesn't bleed through to the next page, but it bleeds through the page it's on. Oh bueno. So you won't be seeing me do that. And it's kind of ironic because the ink, the literal wet ink does not do that, but for some reason the alcohol markers do. It's not the worst thing in the world. You'll just won't see me doing that all that often. Here we have some more character drawing things. This is awful. I really don't know why I draw people from like I'd like really try and challenge myself by drawing people from like different angles, and sometimes I just like I don't have it. I don't have what it takes. But then other times I like this one right here. This one is definitely more realistic proportion wise, but you still have a bit of iconography going along with the eyes and the mouth and the ear. But mainly really what I was trying to do right here is I really like the shadows following the contour of the face, and I thought that looked interesting. We have a full character action pose. It could have pushed it a lot more. And that's something that I need to figure out as an artist. How can I make these poses more impressive? How can I make them have more momentum? I just need to push it a bit more, I think. And I feel like the only way I can do that is just through some good old-fashioned practice. But I quite like this one right here. I really like the silhouetted leg that I got back here. I think that really helps to push this one forward and really show that this one is in the back. Also drew some action lines. We have Ulysses kind of just talking. I don't think it's very like interesting to have your characters sort of just like standing there. Like I do think people talk with their hands quite a bit, so I want to like I really want to show that. It's like people they lean and they do things with their body when they're talking to each other. So I want to incorporate that sort of level of acting into there. Thank you, Alicia775. Appreciate it. Still all very conceptual. Nothing's really polished here, but I do appreciate it. But it's like that's something I want to do with this comic, really. It's like I do want to put that emphasis on the characters. It's like what's happening is important, but like these characters, I want them to feel like real people, you know? I want them to like move and talk like real people. I don't want them to just like stand in front of each other and just like talk to each other, you know? So I want to think about all these things. We have Harris here that's sort of I'm trying to instead of like reusing the same image, I'm like, you know, if he's acting, you know, it's like you can imagine he would like change a pose in between these right here. This was from the last short I did. I don't love it. I like the tree here. I have a tendency to wait a lot of my artworks to the right just because I find it visually pleasing. So you'll often see a lot of my artworks have something on the right side of the frame. I do want to try and break that a little bit, but it feels right. That's why you'll see me do that very often. Especially right here as well. I also think this tree should not have been completely dark. I did it before I did the background here, and I think it should have been more like this tree right here, where it starts off dark down here and then gets more light towards the top. But that was just a lack of planning on my part. That's what a sketchbook's for, you know, you learn. Here we have another pose. This is what I mean when I'm talking about like character proportions. It's like I have a tendency to I get the rib cage down and I get the pelvis down, but I don't leave enough room for the waist. You know, like this little section in between here, which is not very huge. You know, you have that gap in there. It's a cranium thick. But I'm stupid and I keep on squashing that together. I need to give these characters torsos. That's something that I'm working. I recognize it because it kind of makes them look like they're stunted a little. Granted, he is leaning forward a bit here, but I could have communicated that a little bit better. Here we have good old fashioned. This is Ulysses. Again, just drawing like what do I want this guy to look like? And I feel like I'm honing in on like the look that this guy has. I like it when people have pretty characters in their comics and stories and stuff. I think people are beautiful, and I want to have beautiful people in my comics. So these are attractive people, like obviously. It's like I want to draw people that I would find attractive, of course. So Ulysses is a heartthrob. He's a very attractive dude. Except right here. Wait, where else is he ugly? He's not too ugly there. He's ugly right there. He's alright there. He's ugly right there. So I want to make him beautiful. So this is kind of just like a vomit page. You'll see me. I'll have my art vomit pages. That's very like me. If you've been with the channel for a while, I have my art vomit pages, and this is one of them. Like one thing I want to do with this comic too is like I think like not enough stories show people eating stuff. So it's like I think eating is such a fun way to sort of like show character dynamics, and you can bring out a lot of personality with like you can showing like how people eat. And I kind of like imagined that like Ulysses and Harris are sort of out and about in the circle, and maybe they come across an old gas station, and like Ulysses finds like a cup noodle there, and of course the circle has been around for 100 years, so this is like a 100-year-old cup noodle, and he's like I'm gonna eat that. Like I think that's so cool, and of course he can eat it because those things are like bricks, and they don't go bad. So it's like he finds like this like preserved instant ramen cup, and he's like, I'm having ramen right now. And Harris is like, dude, you can't do that. Like, you're gonna get food poisoning or something. He's like, no, it's fine. That's fine. Here we have, we're getting to the end of where I left off here, but I'm thinking now it's like, okay, like I have sort of touched a lot on like how these characters like look. Maybe not 100%, but like what facial features do they have? Like Harris is has a very like square jaw, square head. He has, you can see his chiseled sort of cheekbones going on. His eyes got some squareness to them. His eyebrows, they are thick at the end and taper towards the center. Ulysses he's a bit more younger, a bit more naive, so he has more softer features. He has a bit of a rounder face going on. His nose isn't as defined as Harris's. His eyebrows, they're a rectangle that sort of come to a little swoop right here. You know, he has like a softer nose, but not like like the nose of a child. It's not like bent or crooked or anything. And for the rest of him, he's not going to have any wear and tear on his face. A lot of the time, he's going to be a bit more smooth, and he has maybe what you would consider your traditional Loomis proportions, where you go like one third, one third, one third. So that's how I've been approaching drawing the characters, their faces, but I wanted to think a bit more about how I draw their outfits, because how it's been here recently, it's like they're in this sort of like jumpsuit looking thing, and it has a turtleneck. Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate you stopping by. It means the world to me, and I hope to see you at a later date. We do have a Discord, by the way. I don't have it here right now, but you can find it in the description of the last live stream. So if you want to jump into that Discord, we got other artists in there. You can share your artwork, and you can look at other people's artwork. We'd love to have you there. And so this is where I've sort of come up with. I'm wanting to add a bit more pizzazz to this outfit instead of just making like an all black sort of like ninja looking thing. So here's kind of what I've come up with. And this is not completely set in stone. There are a few qualms I have with this character design for the outfit. How I'm viewing it is these are dudes who have to go into the circle in order to retrieve things or take measurements and data or people or find people, but regardless of what they're doing, they are going to be out in nature. There's no civilization out here. You like the tree shadows on the left drawing? Wait, which one? Which one? This one right here? Or are you talking about like that one right there? Sorry, I skipped past it. Oh, when you messaged that, I apologize. Um, but so it's like I want, because like this is like Tangent is a like a corporation that has control over the circle, so there's a lot of money funneled into this company. So they have an official subsect of people that they've trained from birth to go into the circle, and they are going to have a uniform. That's just how it is. And of course, like being the Metal Gear Solid fan that I am, I am leaning into sort of like the militaristic uh, side of things instead of going towards like these guys just wearing just like normal t-shirts and pants and stuff. Wait, you'll have to tell me. Wait, you said that one again. Wait, tell me the page number. Is it this one 41 or are you talking about 43? Because I think those are the two pages. The details on another tree showed. I'm assuming you're talking about this one right here. I have a short on the channel finishing this one up. So you if you want to see like my process with that, you can do that. I also have one. If you like the rendering on that one, you'd probably like the rendering on this one right here. There's a short on the channel for this one as well if you want to get a peek at the process. But back to the outfit thing here. I'm wanting it to lean a bit more militaristic, of course. So I like in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, I love Luke's. Oh, you were originally talking about 41? I see. It's impressionistic, there's not a lot going on back there. I'm very inspired by like Luke's pilot outfit from episode 5. I think it's such a cool outfit, and it's like it's made me like have like this like love for jumpsuits. And I think they look so cool. And I'm like, I know pilots wear them, so I'm like, okay, like what if I had a thing going like that here for these characters? So it's like we have a base layer jumpsuit that's like a pilot's jumpsuit. Maybe it has some pouches on the arms. Maybe it's got some zipper pockets here. Maybe it's got some pockets here. One thing I really like with like these jumpsuits is when you like tack on some military boots. I love when the fabric bunches up as it's like stuffed into the boot. I think that's such a cool look, and you see me play around with that, with the silhouettes of like you see me play around with the silhouettes. Gosh, and of course I can't find it. You know, you got me playing around with that right there. This idea of that. So I really like the way that that sort of looks. If you like squint your eyes, you can see like it creates a lot of interesting triangular shapes. So like, we get this jumpsuit, right? And I was like, okay, it is kind of boring if you just have like one jumpsuit visually speaking. So I'm like, well, like what if we just like what if they have a utility belt? Like what was that, like Rob Liefeld likes to draw like utility belts on his characters. I'm like him. Uh, so this kind of helps to break up that monotony that we have with the the jumpsuit, and it makes sense. It's like, okay, these guys are like trained professionals and they're out in the wilderness. So they probably need a utility belt. So we got a utility belt. Oh, dude, I love like the way that like fabric sort of like that's why I love big like flowy garments. Not flowy garments, but oversized, you know? Like especially with like stuff like this where you're trying to create sort of that very interesting silhouette. I love it when fabric munches up and does that. How do I give the clothing volume? So I have like a bit of like a process that comes to where I do it, and I don't know how I can show that to you. But I'll like walk you through it. So I do a base sketch of the body, right? And that's including like all of the muscles and everything. We're including like, you know, chest, arms, biceps. I lay out everything just so I kind of know where everything is. And once I'm done with that, I imagine what and how the fabric would rest on top of that. So I take my initial sketch and I like draw over it. And I you have to like consider the fabric, right? Is it softer? Is it harder? Is it like a canvas? So it's like, okay, the shoulders are normally rounded, but if you're having like a tailored piece of fabric, it's gonna bunch up into triangles like around the shoulders. When it's sort of tucked into a belt right here, you know, you move around a bit, it's gonna pull and push in different ways. So you got that there. For like the arms and everything, like not everything is gonna be like skin tight, right? Not everything is like spandex. So it's like I try to imagine like what a tube of that would look like over the anatomy, right? And then what I do is I'll look up like references of like clothing folds and I'll like throw those around like pinch points. So like the legs here, the crooks of the elbows, the armpits, you know, like places where your fabric is most likely going to like scrunch up. That's the process I have now. It's bound to change in the future. I'm not perfect with it, of course, but it's like and I mean, you said it in that comment, right? It's like volume. I am considering like how do I make this voluminous? And that's sort of the way I do it. And I also like try and like a way that you can show that like something is like three-dimensional is it's like if you have things going in front of other things. In art, I guess you would consider like a T. So it's like if you have like the fabric pulled here and it goes in front of the arm, it immediately feels like it gives you that depth cue. So we got that going on right there. Yeah, eh, I don't always imagine the clothing on top. I'm trying to do that more. Um, like I don't always have reference. I where I'm doing like character design stuff right here, I draw the base layer, the person, and then I'm imagining those clothes on top of that person. Sometimes I have reference, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have multiple references, and I'm playing around with different shapes. Um, there's a big consideration for shapes, definitely, because it's like I want it to look interesting. Another thing you can do to sort of like add like volume is cross contours. Like you see cross contour hatching going on right here. Even just a subtle curve can make it feel like this is a rounded form. You know, it doesn't take much to imply a lot. But you can also use that to like darken up different parts. Like right here in this crook, like this fold is so big that there's no light getting into it, so I shaded it. I imagine that the light is creating a bit of shadow right here in the armpit areas. Especially like back here, like you know, it's like thinking it's like, okay, like you have the front of your pants right here. Like what if you had this thing like where the clothing is in front of that happen, but like it's happening behind your like the main silhouette right here. So it's like you could darken that. That's just a piece of fabric that's sort of like bent and sort of sticking out behind them. Considering things like that. I'm no professional, by the way, but that's just kind of my observation. You struggle with folds and volume? I mean, I do too. Like I really don't want to give the impression that I have it down to a T, but like the only thing that I could recommend that's helped me a ton is just draw from reference or use references or sometimes just draw a reference. It doesn't have to be for a specific piece of like art that you're working on. Sometimes you can just draw to draw. Like take an afternoon to practice like sleeves. Take an afternoon to practice like pants. An afternoon to practice different. Take an afternoon to just practice different things. And you'll see the benefits from that. I guarantee it. I've seen some benefits from it. Okay, and that's sort of that kind of puts us in an interesting position for this stream. I've kind of talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to. I debated doing a couple of different things for the drawing portion of this stream, and all of them kind of. I wanted to just draw some scenery. I've been drawing a lot of characters these past few pages, and I want to sort of break it up a little bit. And I think I want to draw just a landscape of some sorts. And I've recently been sort of taken with artists who render their backgrounds or just their pieces of artwork with just ink. So kind of like a watercolor painting, but just in black and white. And I think that's a very interesting look, and I kind of want to try it out a little bit. Can I show your scenery sketches? You need to see the details. Is there a specific page you have in mind? So there's that one right there. Those right there. This background is very just thrown together. It's nothing crazy, right? This is the alcohol marker for if I wanted to do a lot of detail. Here's a very simple perspective shot. It's just a 1 point perspective, all converging like in the middle here somewhere. And I know you said like detail. I really am struggling with how much detail I should be adding to these backgrounds. Like the color one is beautiful. Thank you. I do want to work in color. I work in color a bit whenever I get bored of the pen and ink stuff, but like I do think alcohol markers are very fun when I'm trying to find. Like I think alcohol markers are very fun. They're kind of like watercolor where you have to work light to dark, but they're definitely a lot more vibrant. So I like alcohol markers. I do think they're very fun. But yeah, it's kind of like I've been like thinking about it's like how do I want to like render these environments? It's do I want to stick with just like hatching, cross hatching, building up those textures, or do I want to sort of like bring the environment back into the background? Do we want to do a mix of the two? Like this one right here, it's like I do think it looks cool because it's like you have all of these different directions of hatching of lightness and dark, and like it's a very like it's a neat looking thing, but it's like you take that and you put a like a character in front of it, and it feels like there's a lot of fighting for attention there, and I'm really not quite sure like how to tackle that. And it might be a framing issue. I could probably keep doing, stuff like this where it's like where it's very dense with hatching and lights and darks. But I need to just think of more creative framing in order to make the characters more visible. Like with this one right here, it's like you have sort of you have all the hatching and everything going on, but it's like okay, like could we throw in environmental elements so that when we have our characters in there, they don't get lost in the background? And that's just something I'm gonna have to learn as I do more art. you know, Another thing that I can do, and I've thought about doing this like a ton, is that you can just have a plain black background. You can just have, you can just have lines back there, and it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be immaculately detailed in every single panel. Maybe some panels you just have a shot where they're in the environment, and for the rest of them you throw in some BS. That's a real technique. I'm not just being like, oh, I'm lazy, but like that is a real technique that you can use, especially in manga. Like when you are working with just like black and white, it's like, what can you do exactly? Um, Especially when you're and also when you're working like traditionally, like I am here. There's a lot of planning that you need to do. Uh, you can't really kind of just throw everything together like haphazardly. You really do need to have a consideration for where your values are going to be. Where are your lights and darks? Where are your textures? Where are your shapes? Everything's important. Like this right here, this page is just a mess. It's such a mess. It's such a mess of hatching and cross hatching and just a bunch of junk. You can see how far the characters have like changed since I did this first sketch of them right here. Very interesting, very compelling. Hmm. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get our pencil out and let's do a little bit of ink painting, why don't we? Let me pull up my Pinterest here, and I'm just gonna find an image that I like, and we're gonna just use it. I'm not gonna copy it verbatim, but I will. W glow up. Hell yeah. Uh, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do this reference image like one to one. I'm just gonna kind of use it as a something to sort of look back on. I'm trying to think if there's any like movies or anything I've seen here. Oh, I saw the Super Mario Galaxy movie again. Uh, I don't care what people say if they're like this is the worst movie ever. Like cinema is dead or whatever. I think it's a pretty fun movie. Especially I really don't care for the first movie very much, but this last one I thought it was fantastic. Not fantastic as in like a good movie, but like it's fun. Maybe maybe I'm being too lenient. Maybe I've become cynical and I just like I'm like I'm gonna love everything. What do I want to draw? Yeah, I think I found something that I like, but we're gonna see if I can we're gonna see if I can cram this amount of detail into one image. We're gonna have to do some. We're gonna have to lay out a ton right here, and I think this is gonna come in very handy. Let me make sure that you guys are able to see that. Should I get a bit closer? We'll go ahead and we'll get a bit closer. Let's go ahead and so we're gonna be doing 1 point perspective again, which is fine, but what that means is that I'm gonna need to find where those perspective lines are gonna converge, and I'm thinking that the middle of the page is better than anything. So we're gonna do it right there, and then also I'll throw in a center line. Oops. So for here, all of our lines are gonna converge. All our receding lines, sorry, not all of our lines. Our receding lines are gonna converge right there, so we're gonna have to figure out a lot of this right here. So let's go ahead and get this done. This back wall is sort of just a rectangle. It's very, very, very easy to draw flat on a page. A lot of your interior shots are going to be sort of 1 point perspective. Not all of them, really, but like so many of them are going to follow 1 point perspective. So now that we know that, we can draw that line going out here. That line. I have a ruler. You think I'd use the ruler? I don't need to use a ruler, but don't have to eyeball everything. So you can see right here, these lines aren't gonna, even though everything does like converge here, it's not all gonna be even. If this was like a perfect square, then it would be, but it's not. So uh, these lines are not gonna be like equal to each other. I'm thinking that, yeah, we can go ahead and start. We got some doors in this frame, and I'm thinking they're gonna be roughly that far away from the wall. They're gonna follow that sort of line right there. Yeah, that's where our doors are gonna be, and they're gonna come all the way to the bottom here. So this door is closer, so we're gonna see more of it. We're also going to see more into the interior because it does kind of recede into there a little bit more. So we're going to see a bit of that going on. I'm not doing like perfect lines here. Life's too short for that. Here's the fun thing though, because we have that little vanishing point right here, we can do a lot. We can get a little bit more perfect with how these shapes are going to be. So there's like the window thing going on right there. Nothing too fancy. I am taking this reference image and I'm taking a lot out of it because I don't want to have to draw every little mite thing. What type of background are we doing? This is like, so one of the locations in the comic is a school, an abandoned elementary school. So the background that we're doing right now, it's just like off of Pinterest. It is literally just a like a dimly lit elementary school hallway. So that's what we're doing here. Abandoned school like that. Yeah, so like with the what's going on in the circle is 100 years prior to the story, everyone disappeared out of this circle, and that just appeared in the middle of Southern America, and that left everything abandoned, and no one is allowed in the zone except for these people called Seekers. And through plot reasons, they end up in an infinite elementary school. So it's like an abandoned elementary school, but because the circle sort of like makes these weird things happen, they end up in this elementary school that is sort of like repeating on itself. So they're kind of stuck here, and it's sort of it's evocative of liminal spaces. That's what I'm going for there, and I think that it's such like like an interesting setting because it does feel sort of like nostalgic for a lot of people. Most people did go to like an elementary school at some point, so I think that that's sort of yeah backrooms type stuff. So it's like I do really like liminal spaces. Like I am inspired. I'm inspired by like things like House of Leaves, uh, backrooms also, but kind of just like not necessarily like not the idea of like oh there's like this like underground world where like everything is infinite and repeating and creepy. I do think that's cool and I do incorporate elements of that, but I like just normal places that are empty as well. I like just sort of like abandoned settings. I think that can be really cool as well. So uh so it's like I want to show sort of like like what would the world or not the world what would like this America look like if it was like abandoned. So it's like it's got that post-apocalyptic vibe, but it's not really the apocalypse. It's just the apocalypse in this one section of the United States. Everything else outside is going somewhat normally. It's corporations are sort of have taken over a lot of daily life, so it's like things are not how you and I would perceive them. So thinking I just want, so this sort of extends into like a further hallway with like a door. I think I just want to leave that black because I want to sort of imply that, it's going, things are going further from there. Go ahead, so that's the top of the ceiling, right? Right there. Oops. It's a bad line. Feels weird that you're the only one chatting. So this happens like every stream. I always just have like like one person. I always have like one person chatting. I mean, dude, it would be so cool if I could get like, like 10 people in here to like all like talk not just to me, but also to like talk to each other. I think that would be so dope. But beggars cannot be choosers. You know? So I'm not too bummed out about it. We got a similar thing going over here with like these doors. There's some doors over here as well. It's like this like lopsided hallway, but they still got, it's like classroom entrances on either side, so Lizard Wizard has jumped into the foray. Hello, Lizard Wizard. Your future's about on Twitch. I should start streaming on Twitch. Like, how would you feel about like dual streaming? Because I know some people stream on YouTube and Twitch. I mean, do you think I should just like stream on Twitch? I really don't know how big the art community is on Twitch. I'm really not sure about that. I mean, as much as I would love to pop off, I'm not gonna hold my breath. You know what I mean? It's like first I like have to like make things that people are like compelled to see. So what I got going on here is some, see, this is a very interesting sort of thing that I got going on right here. It's these like chairs, and they're sort of positioned. They're like positioned next to each other, but they're also kind of like in a row. They're like these chunks of chairs. So it's like, how do I draw these? Because there's a lot of them in succession. So I think I'm gonna have to pull some artist BS and I have to pull some artist BS and sort of like draw them as like a chunk, right? They don't really have like armrests. They do. We can show this. We'll take them as like individual little stacked chairs and we'll turn them into normal little benches and we'll kind of like offset them a little bit, so they're not all sort of in a row. Do that a bit better. Looks like the bend is like right there. Good enough. Okay, that's like good as like a bench, and we'll, like we'll make it a bit thicker. That right there, and then we can just show that there's some things underneath it, like that. We can like that'll be a bit thicker. That's good. That's good. So, trying to think of perspective things that I could do here. So we got the ceiling, and it's sort of like that like brick ceiling thing that you got going on. Not brick ceiling, but like the paneled ceiling. So how do we draw that without going crazy? I'm thinking. I'll use my parallel ruler to save myself some trouble. And there are ways to, in perspective, like actually map out the distances you are supposed to draw things that are like receding. I don't have the patience for that at the moment, so I'm not gonna do that. But just know that there is a way to do that. Aren't I such like an amazing artist where I'm like, I just don't feel like doing this right now? Like, it's awesome, right? Doesn't have you pulling your hair out. See, that's good enough. Like seeing a drawing regardless of challenge. For instance, the hand you drew in the pocket for a can draw hands. Sometimes you just gotta be honest with yourself, man. Sometimes you just have to be like, shortcut, 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 shortcut. Hopefully nobody notices. So there's that. So here's what we can do now. Now that we have that grid laid out, we can do this. We can alternate them. So that's the corner of the room right there. Look at that. We have our middle line, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna alternate every other like bricks. We don't need to do that there. And we're really just gonna do that. Every other. Like that. So then what this is gonna do, it's gonna give us that ceiling tile effect. Right? So you got like these going on. You have a good resource for hands and a layer. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So like the thing with like hands, it's always so uh like frustrating. It's like it's so hard sometimes to just like find like a database that has just hands. It's like, okay, like what if you want a certain pose or whatever, and it can just become very overwhelming. I'm sure you know. I need to have it be like halfway. Because there's that. So what would be half of that? Roughly like right there, right? That's a bad line right there. I should have drew a bit lighter with that. And then halfway for that, probably be like right there, right? Really, right there. Doesn't have to be. See, that's the thing with like perspective. It's like as long as everything generally, like conforms to that perspective grid, you are going to it's gonna give a convincing enough illusion of three-dimensional space. You show this ISM for the comics. I was good for practicing a bunch of other things. I have a 3D model in permanent forms and a lot of just yeah. I was flipping through it. That is a really 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 good resource. How do you find it? Like, I know I'm sure I've like found like resources that like maybe some others like have never found before, but like, you must just like constantly be on the hunt for like these useful things. Like I do admire your tenacity with that. There's a little brick wall. Even articles. Sorry. Like I'm honestly surprised that I like didn't come across. I mean, I'm sure you're probably in other group chats where people share certain stuff, or maybe you're just on the prowl. Don't want to get too crazy with that right there. What I do want to do is there's like a light fixture here. I think it'd be interesting to draw that out. Nothing crazy. Just a little light fixture. On Pinterest and know you found it accidentally. Oh, okay. Hey, sometimes that's the best. You find the best things accidentally. Happens all the time. I mean, like a lot of like artists that I like, sometimes I really have just like found them by accident, just by like complete happenstance. Putting this little, there's like a little radiator on the wall in my reference image, but I think that I'm not gonna keep it like a radiator, but kind of just like this little like maybe it's got some stuff on it. Maybe it's a thing that's in like I don't know. I'm not an elementary school expert, but there can be things, just little like dividers between classrooms. So the floor here, it's kind of like this like bare floor. I know some elementary schools like sort of have like a linoleum tile thing going on. I don't need to have that here, especially if it just makes it a bit easier to draw. Looks like there's another light over here, and I find that interesting. It's like a little sign. It's just this like sign that's kind of like just hanging here. So what would like a hall name maybe what if it's at like hall 1A? It doesn't make sense. Well, I mean it makes sense, but like sometimes you have like your thing like labeled. So like what if there's like a little drop down sign that says this is hall 1A. Gonna be like posters and stuff on the wall. Here's where you're gonna sort of like play around a little bit. A little fire alarm looking thing. Same over here. Maybe on the. Hey, can you suggest something for drawing? What if you had scattered books on the floor? Ooh, that's a good suggestion. So, what if they were like. I do really like that idea. So, what if they were like sort of leading. Maybe like here? So, what if. We're like. Maybe someone was in a hurry and they were like running down the hallway. Are they running from something? I don't know, but like what if they were running down the hallway and they like dropped a bunch of books going around. I'm just blocking them in here now, but we can add like so if we know the it's like that sheets of paper. How would we make it look more like strewn about? If there's some like pencils or something, like a pen. So the perspective on some of these books is not amazing, but what if like a student had some like stacked underneath the chair here, like that. The book's being a pathway is real smart. Write some feedback, but you didn't have time. Oh, what was the feedback? I mean, you can let me know still. What if like from like outside the doors we have a what if there's a like some shadowy looking stuff coming out of the doors? Would a sheet of paper have a like a crumpled up edge like that? Which don't have to really say anything important. So it's like kind of like draws your eye. I mean, the perspective is already drawing your eye closer, but like the this kind of see that's a really good idea because it kind of like creates a bit of like a story, you know? It kind of makes you be on like why. Wall back here, some posters, posters on the wall. Ooh, what if one of the posters is like falling down? Just pick your inspirations, create inspiration board, research a lot about the theme. I don't want to change this because you are a creative genius. Um, what the Sigma? No, no, I definitely no, I agree. Uh, I agree with you. I mean, I will definitely like, and I do, you know, I do always have like a lot of like references and like things that I gravitate mainly like art books, but like I have like online stuff. I've been using a frame set. Do you know about that? It's like a online database of like cinematography stuff. So shots from like a bunch of different movies and commercials and whatnot. Um, Very useful for like composition. But you can make a free account and you get 10 free searches a day and you get one project, which is all I really need at the moment. I definitely like a lot of my inspirations. It's like definitely like things I'm like watching and reading because like it's like I know it's I can oh, thank you, Mr. Duckles. Thank you, Mr. Duckles. Like I do I do approve of like originality. But like I also am a firm believer in stealing things that you like. And I don't mean like actual stealing um like sort of if you really do like something, you should take inspiration from that and use it, change it by using like other inspirations, you know, combine your inspirations. Like you should want to be inspired by something and like want to like make more make more of it. Show people like what it is that you love about that thing. And I think that like that's a very admirable way to approach creating different things. You'll get a smiley sticker from me, let's just say. So what do I so I'm kind of nearing the end of like my drafting here. So what do I want to do next? I think I'm gonna take my pen that I got here and I'm gonna do some color or some value blocking. I think that's what I want to do next. And this could either make or break what I have going on here, but I'm looking to play around with the medium a little bit and sort of try out new things. So we're gonna try that out here first and live. A create inspiration board and do a Pinterest save art where you find visually appealing and help you determine any style you would want for end circles. I I have a lot of pins on Pinterest, and I know like other things too. But I get what you mean, and it's like Pinterest is very hard, mainly just because like there is like a lot of like you'll see a lot of the same things again and again and again. So sometimes it could be very hard to like find specific things you're looking for. I do have Pinterest boards, and it's like maybe like 200 pins a piece. I also take a lot of pictures with my phone of like manga that I'm reading and stuff, and I have a file on there. It's all kind of just like disparate stuff, and I don't know how like traditional artists do that sort of thing. Uh, and I'm sure the process is different for literally every artist in the entire world. But like I still feel like I'm trying to find my groove with that. But and AI, dude, don't even get me started on the amount of AI junk on Pinterest. It's all ads and AI now, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. At least like half of them give you the courtesy of being like AI modified on the actual thing. Not all of them do, but you got to use you got to use your eye for that sort of thing. So let's do a little bit of color blocking here, why don't we? Or value blocking, if you will. The AI stuff has been getting like really out of hand here recently. It kind of makes me mad. Sometimes it's like stupid crap and it can be like kind of funny, but then you also have to sit back and be like, oh, like this stuff is like taking people's jobs and destroying the environment at the same time. It's kind of disheartening. There was a time where I played around with AI just because it was like a novel thing. I didn't use it for anything, of course, but like I just like sort of like treat it like a toy, and I'd be like, oh, dude, like oh, it made a funny little song, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of lame. You have a hot take on all I've seen as when you use AI as reference for a drawing. At the end of the day, you're doing something original. So it is a very that is a very um it's a new thing that we have to deal with. So like I'm sure you're familiar with like the drama surrounding like video game companies using AI for like concept art. I'm not going to tell you what you can and cannot do. Like it's up to you to find out like where you draw your lines and where you want to like uh or how you want to do your work. The way that a lot of companies right now are moving, they are integrating AI into every process of the like through the board. That's the company's decision, and employees have to work within the parameters of the company. I understand how that is. Um, if you are using AI as part of like your concept art or as a reference image, I think that's all on you. On the other hand, people probably would get upset about it. And you can't control people's reactions to things. So I mean, like, I would just beware getting like ridicule, of course. I personally wouldn't. Perspective shots or background ideas. Yeah, I mean, like, just personally, like, I wouldn't, just because I know AI can like get things wrong a lot of the time. And generally speaking, AI broadly looks good, but like once you get down to specific things, it can sometimes like flub things. Uh, and so I think if you were like trying to like learn, I think it is better to just like study from like real life because I think that's going to be way more valuable than anything AI is ever going to give you. And also just there's the ethical side of things because a lot of these AI companies are not getting consent from the constituents of the app, and I think we might be seeing like some like copyright cases popping up in the near future around like who actually owns the things that AI makes. So that's a very touchy thing going on right now. So again, I'm not going to tell you what you can and cannot do. Um, but I think if you are going to go that route, just be conscious of these sorts of things, and definitely always strive to try to be original. That's all I can say really on that. I don't think any like if I were to like meet a person whose workflow is like that, I don't think I would like hate them. um, I'm not a hateful person. I don't want to be a hateful person, so I think it's interesting. Like at the very least, I do want to hear different takes and perspectives from people who adopt that sort of workflow. If anything, I do feel as if it is worth discussing. I do think it's like very compelling. I think I like locked the hell in for this one book right here that I'm doing. That book was really good. Looking good so far. Thank you. I'm trying to think of like what things I should like block in with like dark values. Voice crack. I just had a voice crack. So yeah, I'm trying to think of like what do I want to where do I want to throw my midtones and where do I want to throw my lights and where do I want to throw my darks? I'm kind of laying down midtones right now. Things that are going to be not completely light, not completely dark, but just kind of sitting right there in the middle. I don't have a light source in mind. I don't know if I want to have a harsh, because this is a light up here, and I'll go ahead and block that in right there. That is a light up there, but I don't want that to be like the primary light source. That makes sense. I think these posters here are, if the borders of them were like that. Thinking this will sort of, we'll give it a dry brush effect. That. I just recently refilled this brush pen too, so it's flowing a lot better. I'm very happy about it because originally I would have to like fight to get the ink to come out, but now it's coming out very nicely. We got our tones going right here. Should the sign be? Don't think so. That should be obviously. I forgot about that. I've been listening to this new artist on Spotify here recently that I think is very unique. And I think it's a duo from New York, and it's only like instrumental stuff they're doing, but I think their name is it's Cats Pascal, I believe is the yeah KATZ Pascal Pascale. It's actually one of the songs I used um in the most recent short, but it's like this like really cool mixture of like I guess you would call it like beats and but also like classical instruments, so like horns and violins and like all of that stuff. I'm not too like musically gifted, but I can like recognize like when music sounds beautiful, and oh my gosh, this stuff sounds like amazing. Amazing. And I'm not still not entirely sure like what the genre is, but I need to find out like what the specific I think it's like some sort of like neoclassical uh is how I would describe it. But it's it sounds so cool. Sounds so dope. So I'm thinking this ceiling. Gosh. See, this is a big thing I have to commit to. Thinking the ceiling should be dark. You know, not completely black, but like midtones. Then I'm thinking once that dries, I'll go through and I'll do another. I'll darken up the in-betweens for the tiles. I'll darken that up a little. What I like about ink is once it dries, you can add more ink on top of it and it'll darken. Except like with watercolor, if you just do watercolor on dry watercolor, the water pigment will sort of just get picked back up and you will just have kind of more of the same tone. But when you work with ink, you can do some like layering and get that nice and dark. Do I do digital or just traditional? I uh I tinker with digital art. I don't do it much, but I do have a drawing pad, and I do use Krita as my drawing app of choice. It's just digital art for me. It's just such like a learning curve, and I like the tactile feedback that traditional art gives me, so I'm much more comfortable with traditional art. I do want to, for my comic, do a lot of it traditionally, but I do want to touch it up digitally, format it digitally and such. So it's something I'm gonna have to get more comfortable with as time progresses. Traditional art isn't traditional art just so fun though? I love like my sketchbooks. I think they're so cool to just like collect and fill up. Um, there is something to be said about, you know, getting a sketchbook and being like, I did this from beginning to end. Uh, like something to like take pride in. Does it? It's like big whoop, you finish a sketchbook or whatever, but like it's a good way for me to like motivate myself, which is why I always recommend people keep a sketchbook. I'm thinking I'm gonna do just a light mid-tone on the floor as well. So I want to balance out the ceiling and also want like if these books are gonna be like white paged to stand out still a little bit more. Also doesn't have to be a completely flat fill like we did for the top. This can have a little bit more texture because like maybe there's some light reflecting from elsewhere. Sketchbooks are like achievements. Each drawing enhances your skills at the end become trophies, dude. I have so many sketchbooks right now that I filled out, and I feel like great having all of them, like because I can just like go and flip through some of my old ones and be like, ah, like that sucked. Or it can be like, oh, that wasn't so bad, or like here's where I've improved. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like just filling up a sketchbook, like it's like you can just draw so much. It is like, I mean, yeah, it's like you're leveling up. I mean, you're just like you are going to level up your drawing skills, like no matter what. Just drawing as much as you can is going to like aid you. I should show them sometime. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, every now and again, I'll show them off on stream, but it has been a little while since I have done a full like a full on, not a walkthrough, but like just like flipping through and sort of showing off all of my drawings. I mean, I'm looking at them right now. There's quite a few to get through, so like maybe next stream, uh, I can do that. I mean, I would really love to show them off. I have, I'm counting right now. I got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 sketchbooks filled beginning to end. Uh, Plus 12, and then I have another one that's left my desk, so 13. And that's over like the past 2 years. So I'm drawing a lot. Let's. You can definitely. I look through like my first sketchbooks, and I can definitely see where I have improved. You know, another 11. I mean, let me let me. I'm not gonna like show them like and open them, but I'll hold them all for you. Wait, let me. This is me right here. Hello. These are all my sketchbooks that I have filled out. There's like a drawing pad in here or two, so don't count those, but this is what I got. So like I've done quite a few of them. This is not a sketchbook and this is not a sketchbook, but the rest of it are sketchbooks. So I've done a lot. I do a lot of drawing, as you can see, and it doesn't feel like a lot when I think back on it, but now I'm holding it. This is pretty heavy. So yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's like I do like other art too, so I mean like the output's insane. I mean, I draw like pretty much every day. So like I do a lot. Sometimes I beat myself up and I'm like I don't do a lot. But and I have to remember like man, I do draw a decent amount. Oh no, that's a good texture on the wall. I see like some artists being like, "Oh, drawing every day doesn't make you good at art." Um, Agreed, but also like disagree. I mean, I do think if you draw every day, you will get better and you will improve a ton. Um, Drawing whatever you want every day, your growth is probably going to be a little bit smaller. But if you are doing like focused, like strengths and weaknesses, trying to work on those things, I mean, you will if you draw every day, you'll grow a ton, and that leave room for rest, of course. But I mean, you'll learn a lot about yourself. Okay, I think I'm gonna do the trim here as well. Does it need to be done? I don't like how it's just one color. I want to show that's separate from the rest of the wall. Yikes. Keep on dipping my hand in this thing over here. Maybe the door should also be done over. Maybe, because we have to show that they're a different material than the wall. Thinking if we can go ahead and two birds on one stone and darken the window, but also darken the door a little. Yeah, that was a good choice. Go me. It's fun. I want to go ahead and start adding in my darker values. This has potential to screw up, so like the previous go around, don't be surprised if I mess something up here. Thinking the edge of the seat, below the seat. We'll let the brush have we'll let the brush speak a little. We'll let it like fly around a bit. It's always so scary just laying down like black ink like this. You're like, what if I mess up? Thinking also there will be like a lip to the window. We gotta remember that the things that are further away from the camera are going to have less detail. So, we'll imply a bit more. Now I think, so I got my big swaths. We'll go in with the fountain pen. Just do a little bit of line work. Not a ton. Darkest areas are gonna lead the eye the most. We want to try and draw, create that contrast in those parts. think I'm nearing the end of what it is I want to do here. I feel pretty pleased with what I got going on. Of course, it's all fun and games, right? I can't really think of anything else that I want to add. I did have a lot of fun doing this. I like drawing in perspective. It's not something I do often. I do stick to a lot of outdoor things because I mean I just love like drawing the outdoors. Um, no, but this has been really fun. I appreciate everybody who took time out of their day to come in here and chat about art in order to like share our interests, our collective interests. But I can't think of anything else to add to this. Really, I mean, there's things I'm happy with, and there's things that I'm not happy with. But let's say all in all, I feel very. I feel like I learned a little bit. I learned a little bit about sort of this approach to doing backgrounds. I definitely think there's a lot of if I want to go this impressionistic. Yeah, if am gonna go this impressionistic, I need to sort of consider to what end, uh, like to what effect this would create. Because I do love in manga and stuff when you have sort of like these like super like hyper detailed backgrounds, and maybe I can find a good mix between that and this, but it's gonna take a lot more practice, I think. But I would say for now, I thought this was pretty fun. I do like, doing the ink wash over everything. I think that's like a fun little thing to do because it lets you get away from the hatching, lets you be very soft with it, and I do think there is merit to that. So I will definitely like keep you all in the know with what it is I exactly choose to do with the comic. I'm excited to share that journey with you all. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, you'll know that I'm really bad at ending things. So I'm gonna put that right there. I'm gonna turn this back up. I'll give you a few final words of encouragement, and then we will call it an afternoon. I'm also getting pretty hungry. It does blend very nicely. I mean, I do really like the effect that it gives. It's something I'm going to play around with a little bit more. I might need to switch from doing like these brush pens to like maybe just I don't know if I can do like a flat brush. Maybe I could literally just buy this and like cut it flat. I'm not quite sure. Well, it's been nice. I don't know. I might be craving fast food for dinner. Don't tell my wife. Don't tell her, she'll get mad at me. But I think I might want to do fast food for dinner. Um, I did go to the gym this morning and I I lifted very heavy. So I feel like I deserve it. I feel like I do deserve, and I haven't indulged in quite a while, so I might do that. Food's on the mind. I think so. I'm very passionate about food. Um, Thank you to everybody who watched the stream. Uh, Green Quencil, you've been a real G this entire time. Really, the cheat meal is well deserved. It always is. It always is. You gotta wait. You can. I am cutting right now, so I'm losing a lot of muscle, but I'm also losing a lot of body fat too, so it's all good. Um, no, but seriously, let's thank you for being in here. Thank you for chatting. It's awesome to have someone to talk to the entire time. Or else I'm just talking to myself, which I like talking to myself, but it's also nice to talk with other people. If any of you watching already haven't, go ahead and join the Discord. We have other artists in there who are glad. Like Lizard Wizard was in here earlier. He provides like quite a lot of resources for your art journey, for learning art, for practicing art, all very invaluable. So if you would like to be part of that community, I will remember to put the link to that in the description of this stream. So go ahead, join the Discord, drop in, say hi, uh, share off your art. I want to see your art. If you were drawing along with this, I want to see what you were doing. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah, if you can tune into the next stream, that'd be awesome. If not, I'm not gonna be mad or anything. We got lives outside of this, right? I will warn you. I've been on like a really bad. You don't have Discord? No. Well, you'll have to be in the streams then. It'll probably be. I'm trying to keep on that every other week stream schedule. Maybe sometime in the future when I have a bit more free time, I'll stream every week again. But for now, it'll probably be every other week. So not next weekend, but the weekend after. We'll give us some time to draw a little bit more and to have life happen to us, so we have more things to talk about. Okay, well, I will catch all of you in the next stream. Have a good night.